Spider-Man No Way Home is perhaps one of the most widely anticipated MCU properties in recent memory, since the winding down of the Infinity Saga after Infinity War and Endgame, with the multiverse set to open and reveal that previous iterations of not only Spider-Man, but some of his most iconic enemies will be coming to the MCU. Many fans are ecstatically awaiting the return of some of the most famous cinematic characters in comic book movie history. At the top of the list for many is Dr. Otto Octavius from the beloved entry in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, but with him being the only villain to appear in the flesh in the current marketing material that we have, many fans have been quick to analyze every frame of his appearance, and some avid viewers have noticed a few curious details. So stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's explore a popular fan theory that Doc Ock may be utilizing Stark tech at some point throughout the course of No Way Home. Though the details are relatively minor and center mostly around altered coloration of Doc Ock's tentacles in some of the recent footage, there are behind the scenes reasons as well as some in-universe explanations to reasonably justify how and why Doc Ock got his hands on Stark technology, as well as how Dr. Otto Octavius intends to use it and why it may not actually be for malicious intentions. Seeing as one of the premier criticisms regarding Tom Holland's Spider-Man is that he seems to only battle Tony Stark enemies. Some fans even have gone as far as to claim that the tentacles might be absorbing the nanobots from the Iron Spider suit, which would not only nullify the suit and effectively destroy it, but it would also strengthen Ock in the process. But this claim has little in the way of verifiable evidence and is most suitably utilized as a potential storytelling capability. If Doc Ock can utterly annihilate the Iron Spider suit with little effort via the use of Stark's nanotechnology, as well as use it to build his own capabilities up, it could establish him as a formidable threat that would warrant the intervention of other Spider-Men. First, let's delve into some of the behind-the-scenes reason why Ock may have Stark tech. And for this, we will have to go all the way back to 2003, when Spider-Man 2 was in its pre-production phases, and the story was just being constructed, and revealed that this Easter egg in Dr. Otto Octavius actually coming into possession of Stark tech is something that was laid far before even the inception of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the original drafts of Spider-Man 2, director Sam Raimi wanted to name drop Stark Industries as the company that produced the mechanical arms that Ock was going to use in the film. And while the exact details of what this might entail are currently unknown, a deal ultimately could not be reached between Sony and Marvel at that time, and Sam Raimi reverted back to his original story and made the necessary alterations that we ultimately got in Spider-Man 2. Whether Stark Industries was the sole producer of the arms as a contracted creator who was hired at Ock's behest, or if it was a collaborative effort is not yet known, but either is a possibility, and both have significant implications on both the Raimi universe as well as the MCU. If the collaborative efforts of Sony and Marvel result in a retroactive confirmation that Stark Industries exists in the Sam Raimi universe, then it would confirm that there is a variant of Tony Stark in the original Spider-Man reality, and that Tony and Peter would be more akin to professional peers than a mentor and a mentee. But the reaching here doesn't just end with Doc Ock. This would also have implications on the likes of Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, as Oscorp was a leading technological behemoth in the fields of weapons and advanced combat capabilities. We know that Oscorp had the contracts of the Department of Defense and the US military in the past, much like how we know that the Goblin suit, glider, and gadgets were all Oscorp prototypes, which would likely mean that if Stark Industries also exists in this universe, the two would most likely be direct competitors with one another, and it stands to reason that Norman Osborn would know who Tony Stark is in great detail. Again, if a variant of Stark exists in the Raimi universe. Though there has been no word on whether or not Marvel and Sony plan to implement these changes, we believe that there would be positives and negatives to each decision. The pros of a decision like this would be widening the Raimi universe and allowing it to grow and expand, perhaps even garnering a new level of interest in the franchise, and potentially resulting in more film projects set in the beloved Sam Raimi universe. It could allow this version of Spider-Man to interact with other variants of MCU mainstays, as well as continue along with his own storyline, allowing it to grow and expand organically. The downside of this is that many would argue that it cheapens the Raimi universe as a whole, as the premier selling point of the original Spider-Man films were their small nature and self-contained character-based stories. The Raimi franchise flourished on character arcs, relationships, and small intimate problems in tandem with the spectacular action set pieces that it delivered. And some might argue that this might sour what was already done and ruin the formula that has been proven to work for years under the guidance of Sam Raimi. But while we could spend hours discussing why this would be a good idea and a bad idea, let's explore the criticism that Tom Holland's Spider-Man only seems to battle villains associated with Tony Stark, as well as discuss how this hypothetical situation may not necessarily apply. The main criticism is that Stark is the catalyst for many of Spider-Man's enemies, putting the Vulture out of work and driving him to organize crime, as well as enraging Quentin Beck with his firing, garnering a vendetta against the former CEO. There is as of now no evidence to support that Ock has a personal vendetta or agenda against Tony Stark, but given his nature as a genius physicist, he might have discovered the nanotechnology on his own at some point in meeting Tom Holland's Spider-Man. From here, if he were to reverse engineer the machines and bend them to his own will, he could showcase his intelligence and avoid any direct conflict with Tony Stark, leaving him as strictly a Spider-Man villain with the capability to override one of Holland's greatest assets in his Iron Spider suit. There is also a distinct possibility that Ock's utilization of Stark tech in this hypothetical might actually not be malicious. In the second Spider-Man movie, we come to learn that it's actually the Arms who are controlling Octavius, as the inhibitor chip was designed to protect his mind, and it was destroyed during his first fusion reactor experiment. We see this change when the lights on the Arms turn from white to red, signifying who is in control. And while he was ultimately able to regain control just before his sacrifice, he never actually repaired the chip, and thus could not ensure the safety of his mind. If he was pulled into the multiverse upon submerging his experiment into the river, then the faulty inhibitor chip might allow the Arms to regain control of Dr. Otto Octavius's mind. We actually see evidence of this in the trailer, as the lights on the Arms are yet again red, hinting that Ock is not actually in control of his own mind, and that the mechanical arms are yet again. Doc Ock's redemption arc in Spider-Man 2 is part of what solidifies him as one of the most popular antagonists in modern comic book cinema, and it stands to reason that the selfless iteration of Octavius that gave his life to save the city is still trapped somewhere within his own mind. And with no less than 5 confirmed villains in No Way Home, there is room for yet another redemption arc that could see Ock finally break free from the Arms' control and fight alongside our 3 Spider-Men in the final conflict. If this is the case, then the nanobots taken from the Iron Spider suit might actually serve as upgrades for himself in order to give him an edge when combating against the rest of the antagonists that are set to reappear in perhaps the largest Spider-Man movie to date. And seeing Ock fight alongside the heroes as well as be augmented by Stark tech in doing so could be a fascinating experience. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? Do you think Ock will utilize the Stark nanobots at some point in the movie or not? And do you think that there is a variant of Tony Stark that exists in the Sam Raimi universe? In addition to this, what abilities do you think Doc Ock will inherit from Stark tech? As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope you have a great day.